there's a lot of ways to lose fat, and some of them I definitely recommend more than others. But these are just some of the ones that I have heard of or like come across that do genuinely work. But it's not necessarily something I think works for every single person, or is necessarily the easiest way or most effective in general. But they are totally things that you can try and that I think do have a lot of merit to them in the right situations. And that's what we're going to be going over today. The first one is more of a temporary, but a sauna. Kind of the logic behind a sauna is if you're sweating out a lot of the water in your body, that there's a lot of like different chemicals and things in your skin that as water's being pulled out, it'll kind of pull out anything that's like toxic or that sort of thing that's negative to your health. But since we are made of a lot of water, this is also technically a way to lose a large amount of weight in like a very short time, is just being in a sauna, so that you're going to, sweat out a lot of your water weight. This is more of just a weight change versus a fat change, though. So I think that, it's kind of nice to see on the scale. But, I mean, same as like a laxative would make you lose weight, it's not exactly fat. But if you want to go to things that actually lose fat, there's a couple that are kind of unique. The first is intermittent fasting. There's sort of two different reasons that someone might want to do this. The first is kind of the sciencey reasoning behind it. Essentially, your metabolism changes throughout the day, and this also depends on the amount of time since you have eaten food. And this tops at about 18 hours and then starts to drop off as you get to like a 24-hour mark or so. And so the idea behind like an 18-6 intermittent fast, where you're eating food for 6 hours of the day, but then having an 18-hour period where you're fasting, you're intentionally not eating, is that you're technically going to raise the amount of metabolism of your body by a small amount for, making sure that your body has to use like energy stores from your body versus food if you're like constantly eating. But the other reason that an intermittent fast can be really good is if you, for example, struggle with snacking and don't necessarily need to eat throughout the day. Being able to do an intermittent fast allows you to help go, okay, yeah, like I'm just not going to eat, so I'm going to avoid any snacks, I'm going to avoid any soda, anything that has calories during the day. And then because you're restricting that time where you could have snacks, it's a lot harder to overeat from snacks if that's something that you're struggling with. But those are kind of the two main reasons that someone might want to do an intermittent fast and that you'll see results from it. But typically, the amount of calories per day and everything else is something that's recommended to stay the same, because the goal isn't to actually change your total eaten calories. It's just to change when you are eating them to be at a smaller time from each day so that you're not able to snack, and you're technically hitting that peak metabolism. Next one, though, is a little bit more extreme, and this is actually straight on just fasted cardio. This is where, for example, if you're at a weight plateau, and you're like, man, I'm really struggling to lose weight. Like, I feel like I'm maintaining, like, what I'm eating throughout the week, but it's not necessarily enough to go down. This is a way to kind of kick it up and get to a point where you're losing a pound or so from just a little bit more effort. Where the idea is you basically take a whole day where you fast, and at that point your body still has to burn your basic metabolic rate, which is going to be usually a little under 2,000 calories. So if you then kind of add a little bit more to that and say, okay, like I'm going to stop eating at 6 p.m. the day before, then go to sleep, and then still fast for 24 hours, you're then at a 36-hour fast, which is about 1.5 times, you're getting to like upper 2,000 calories. And then during that day that you're fasting, If you're then also doing some light cardio, what can end up happening is that you legitimately just burn 3,500 calories across either 24 or 36 hours. Um, and then because you're just not eating and you're burning enough calories, that's enough to bring your total like calories for a week down by a full pound. And then if everything goes right, you end up burning roughly a pound of fat during that time. But of course, you can extend the fast, but 24 to 36 hours is a usual recommendation for kind of the maximum amount of time that you should do it on a weekly basis. If you want to do a more extended fast, though, you can do that periodically. And this is where we get into like actual specific fasting methods of losing weight. Interestingly to note, there are actually multiple